The Silent Dangers. 4 morning habits that could be harming your health after 70. Sarah Jenkins woke with a start, her heart racing. The clock on her nightstand read 3:17 a.m. She reached for her phone, squinting at the sudden brightness as she dialed her sister's number. "Martha, it's Sarah. I just got a call about Richard." Martha Andrews felt her stomach drop. Richard, her neighbor of 15 years, had seemed perfectly fine when she'd waved to him yesterday morning. At 73, he was active, independent, and showed no signs of health problems. But now he was gone. A massive stroke in the early morning. Hours had taken him without warning. "He seemed so healthy," Martha whispered, her voice catching. "We had coffee just yesterday." This scenario plays out more often than we realize. Every day, seniors who appear healthy and active suddenly face life-threatening health emergencies. What many don't realize is that certain morning habits, routines that seem harmless or have been part of their lives for decades, might be silently putting their health at risk. As we age, our bodies become more vulnerable to the cumulative effects of seemingly innocent habits. What worked for us at 40 or 50 might actually be dangerous once we reach 70 and beyond. The morning hours, in particular, represent a critical time when our bodies are transitioning from rest to activity, a transition that becomes more challenging with age. In this comprehensive guide, we'll explore 4 morning habits that could be silently damaging your health if you're over 70. These aren't rare or unusual behaviors. They're common routines that millions of seniors follow every day without realizing the potential consequences. By the end, you'll understand how simple adjustments to your morning routine could dramatically improve your health and potentially add years to your life. Stay with me until the very end, as the 4th habit is particularly surprising. Something nearly every senior does first thing in the morning that dramatically increases their risk of falls, heart complications, and cognitive issues. You'll also learn the simple alternatives that can transform your mornings into a foundation for better health. Now let's examine these habits one by one, starting with a morning ritual that nearly 80% of adults over 70 engage in every single day. Habit number 1, rushing out of bed too quickly. Margaret Wilson, 76, had been healthy her entire life. A retired school teacher, she prided herself on maintaining an active lifestyle and staying independent in her home. Her morning routine had been the same for decades. As soon as her alarm went off, she'd immediately swing her legs over the side of the bed and stand up, ready to start her day. "I've always been a morning person," she often told her children. No point in wasting time lying around. But one Tuesday morning, everything changed. The moment Margaret stood up, the room began to spin violently. She felt lightheaded, then completely disoriented. Before she could grab onto anything for support, she collapsed to the floor, fracturing her hip and hitting her head on the nightstand. What Margaret didn't realize was that her lifelong habit of jumping out of bed quickly had become increasingly dangerous as she aged. The sudden movement from lying to standing position was causing a dramatic drop in her blood pressure, a condition known as orthostatic hypotension that becomes more common and more severe after age 70. This condition affects nearly 20% of seniors, yet most don't know they have it until a fall or more serious event occurs. Even more concerning, this rapid positional change doesn't just increase fall risk, it can trigger serious cardiovascular events in vulnerable individuals. Here's what happens in your body when you stand up too quickly after age 70. When you lie flat for several hours during sleep, blood circulates evenly throughout your body. Upon standing, gravity naturally pulls blood downward, away from your heart and brain. In younger adults, blood vessels quickly constrict and heart rate increases to compensate for this shift, maintaining consistent blood flow to vital organs. However, as we age, these compensatory mechanisms slow down significantly. Blood vessels become less elastic, and the baroreceptors, special sensors that detect blood pressure changes, become less sensitive. This means that when you stand up quickly, your body can't adjust fast enough to maintain proper blood flow to your brain and other organs. The result? A sudden drop in blood pressure that can cause dizziness, fainting, falls, and in some cases, can even trigger cardiac events or small strokes. Research shows that these morning blood pressure drops are linked to a significantly higher risk of silent brain injuries and small strokes that don't cause obvious symptoms but gradually damage cognitive function over time. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a geriatrician at Stanford Medical Center, explains, many seniors don't realize that the way they get out of bed in the morning could be setting them up for serious health problems. This simple movement, from lying to standing, becomes physiologically much more challenging after 70, and the body needs more time to adjust properly. The dangers aren't limited to falls either. These sudden blood pressure drops put tremendous strain on the cardiovascular system, potentially triggering heart rhythm abnormalities, angina, chest pain, or even heart attacks in people with underlying cardiovascular conditions. And since heart disease remains the leading cause of death among seniors, anything that stresses the cardiovascular system deserves serious attention. So what should you do instead? The solution is surprisingly simple. Take your time. The 3-2-1 method for safer mornings. 1. When you first wake up, take 3 deep breaths while still lying flat. This helps oxygenate your blood and gently increases alertness. Next, slowly move to a sitting position on the edge of the bed, keeping your feet flat on the floor. Stay sitting for a full 2 minutes, giving your body time to adjust to the new position. You can use this time to plan your day or practice a brief mindfulness exercise. 3. Finally, stand up slowly, counting to 10 as you rise, and then stand in place for 1 more minute before walking. This gradual transition gives your cardiovascular system time to adjust properly, dramatically reducing the risk of dizziness, falls, and strain on your heart. Studies show that seniors who adopt this slower morning transition have up to 70% fewer fall incidents and report feeling more energetic throughout the day. Margaret, whom we mentioned earlier, adopted this technique after her fall. It felt strange at first to move so deliberately, she admits. I was always in such a rush to start my day. But now I actually look forward to those few minutes of calm transition, and most importantly, I haven't had any more dizzy spells. By making this simple adjustment to your morning routine, you can significantly reduce your risk of falls and cardiovascular events, particularly during the high-risk morning hours when many strokes and heart attacks occur in seniors. If you're still reading and finding this information valuable, please take a moment to reflect on your own morning routine. Do you give your body enough time to transition from sleep to activity? Making this small change could have a profound impact on your health and safety. Now let's move on to our second morning habit that could be putting seniors at risk. One that involves something many of us do automatically first thing in the morning. Habit number 2, drinking coffee on an empty stomach. For millions of seniors, the day doesn't truly begin until they've had their morning coffee. The ritual is so ingrained that many reach for the coffee maker before doing anything else. However, consuming coffee on an empty stomach after age 70 could be creating a cascade of health problems that grow worse over time. Consider the case of Robert Stevens, a 78-year-old retired engineer who had enjoyed his morning coffee routine for decades. 2 strong cups of black coffee immediately upon waking had been his habit since his 30s. It gets my motor running, he used to joke with his wife. But recently, Robert had been experiencing increasing digestive discomfort, heart palpitations, and anxiety that seemed to peak in the mid-morning hours. What Robert didn't realize was that his lifelong coffee habit had become increasingly problematic as he aged. The combination of high caffeine concentration and an empty stomach was creating a perfect storm of physical stress that was affecting multiple systems in his body. Here's what happens when seniors drink coffee before eating anything. As we age, our digestive system undergoes significant changes. The protective mucus lining of the stomach thins, making it more vulnerable to irritation. Digestive enzymes decrease, and the entire digestive tract becomes more sensitive. Meanwhile, our metabolism slows, meaning caffeine stays in our system longer than when we were younger. When you drink coffee on an empty stomach after 70, the high acid content hits your already vulnerable stomach lining directly, potentially causing inflammation and irritation. This can lead to chronic digestive issues, including gastritis, acid reflux, and even ulcers over time. The problem becomes even more pronounced if you take certain medications common among seniors, as many increase stomach acid production or sensitivity. But the digestive system isn't the only concern. Caffeine on an empty stomach is absorbed much more quickly into the bloodstream, causing a rapid spike in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This sudden surge can raise blood pressure, increase heart rate, and even trigger irregular heartbeats, particularly concerning for seniors with underlying cardiovascular conditions. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a geriatric specialist at Johns Hopkins Medicine, explains, the morning hours already represent a vulnerable time for the cardiovascular system in older adults. Blood pressure naturally surges upon waking, and heart attack risk peaks between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Adding the stress of caffeine on an empty stomach essentially adds fuel to this fire. Research confirms these concerns. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition and Gerontology found that adults over 70 who consumed caffeine on an empty stomach experienced average blood pressure increases of 8 to 12 points systolic, the top number, compared to those who ate something before their coffee. These elevations lasted for up to 3 hours and were more pronounced in those with existing hypertension. Another troubling aspect of this habit is its effect on medication absorption. Many seniors take morning medications that can interact with coffee or require consistent stomach conditions for proper absorption. The high-acid environment created by coffee can reduce the effectiveness of certain medications, including those for thyroid conditions, osteoporosis, and some heart medications. For Robert, the solution was simple but effective. After consulting with his doctor, he made a critical adjustment to his morning routine. He now eats a small, protein-rich breakfast before enjoying his coffee. The change has dramatically reduced his digestive discomfort and those troubling heart palpitations. I was resistant at first, Robert admits. It felt like giving up a lifelong habit. But honestly, I enjoy my coffee more now. I can actually taste it better when my stomach isn't churning. So what's the better alternative? You don't have to give up your morning coffee completely, but making these adjustments can help protect your health. The coffee compromise for seniors. 1. Eat something small, but substantial before your first cup of coffee. Even just a piece of whole grain toast with peanut butter or a hard-boiled egg can help buffer the effects of caffeine and acid. 2. Consider waiting 45-60 minutes. After waking before having coffee, giving your body time to complete its natural cortisol cycle. Your body produces cortisol naturally in the morning to help you wake up. Try switching to a lower acid coffee brand or add a small amount of milk, dairy, or plant-based to help neutralize some of the acidity. 4. Consider reducing your overall caffeine intake, especially if you experience anxiety, digestive issues, or sleep problems. Remember that sensitivity to caffeine often increases with age. These simple adjustments can help you enjoy your morning coffee ritual without the health risks that come from consuming it on an empty stomach. Your digestive system, heart, and even your medication efficacy will benefit from this small but significant change. If you're enjoying this information and finding it useful, please consider how you might adjust your own morning coffee routine to better support your health after 70. Small changes can make a big difference in how you feel throughout the day. Now let's move on to our third morning habit that could be silently damaging your health. One that involves modern technology that many seniors have embraced as part of their daily routine. Habit number 3, checking the news and social media first thing. Helen Morgan, 74, considered herself well-informed and connected. Every morning for the past decade, she'd reach for her tablet the moment she woke up, scrolling through news, headlines, and social media posts before even getting out of bed. I like to know what's happening in the world, she explained to her concerned daughter. But lately, Helen had noticed troubling changes in her health. Her blood pressure readings were consistently elevated during morning doctor appointments. She felt anxious and tense for hours after waking, and her previously positive outlook had gradually shifted toward worry and pessimism. What Helen didn't realize was that her morning digital habit was taking a serious toll on her physical and mental health. This pattern is increasingly common among seniors. A recent survey found that nearly 65% of adults over 70 now check digital devices within 15 minutes of waking, compared to just 14% a decade ago. While staying connected is important, consuming potentially stressful information immediately upon waking creates a perfect storm of physiological stress that can be particularly harmful for older adults. Here's what happens in your body when you immerse yourself in news and social media first thing in the morning. After age 70, when you wake up, your body is undergoing a complex transition from sleep to wakefulness. Cortisol levels naturally rise to help you become alert. Blood pressure increases, and your brain transitions from delta and theta waves toward more active beta waves. This awakening process is already more physiologically demanding for seniors than for younger adults. By immediately exposing yourself to potentially negative news, controversial opinions, or comparing your life to curated social media posts, you introduce a significant stress response on top of this natural transition. Your body produces additional cortisol and other stress hormones. Your heart rate increases, and blood pressure can spike dramatically, all before you've even had breakfast. Dr. Sandra Williams, a neuropsychologist specializing in geriatric health, explains, "The morning hours represent a vulnerable time for the aging brain and cardiovascular system. Flooding your system with stressful information during this critical transition period can trigger inflammatory responses that may contribute to cognitive decline and cardiovascular strain over time." Research from the University of California found that adults over 65 who were exposed to negative news within 30 minutes of waking showed significantly higher blood pressure and inflammatory markers throughout the entire day compared to those who delayed news consumption until later. Even more concerning, these effects became more pronounced the longer this habit continued. For seniors with existing health conditions like hypertension, heart disease, or anxiety disorders, this morning digital immersion can be particularly harmful. The stress response triggered by disturbing news or social comparison can aggravate these conditions and potentially trigger acute events in vulnerable individuals. Beyond the physical effects, this habit shapes your mental outlook for the entire day. Studies show that information consumed within the first hour of waking has a disproportionate influence on mood, thought patterns, and perspective. For seniors who may already be dealing with isolation or health concerns, starting the day with troubling news can reinforce negative thinking and increase feelings of helplessness. Helen eventually recognized the connection between her morning digital habits and her declining health. With her doctor's encouragement, she implemented a digital sunrise approach, delaying news and social media until after breakfast and her morning walk. "It was hard at first," Helen admits. "I felt like I was missing something important. But within days I noticed I was feeling calmer. My morning blood pressure readings improved, and I actually enjoyed my coffee more when I wasn't scrolling through upsetting headlines." So what's a healthier alternative to starting your day with news and social media? Consider implementing these strategies. The digital sunrise approach. 1. Create a tech-free zone during your first hour awake. Keep phones, tablets, and computers out of the bedroom entirely, or at least avoid using them until you've completed a morning routine that supports your physical and mental health. Try to establish a morning ritual that eases you into the day. Gentle stretching, writing in a gratitude journal, preparing a nutritious breakfast, or simply enjoying a cup of tea while looking out the window. 3. If you enjoy staying informed, set a specific time later in the morning to catch up on news, preferably after breakfast and any morning medications, when your body is better equipped to handle potential stressors. 4. Be selective about information sources. Consider subscription services that provide balanced coverage, rather than free sites that often prioritize alarming or divisive content to drive engagement. 5. Limit social media time overall, but especially during vulnerable morning hours, when comparisons and negative interactions can disproportionately affect your outlook. These adjustments can help protect your cardiovascular health, support better cognitive function, and establish a more positive emotional foundation for your day. Many seniors report feeling significantly more energetic and optimistic after implementing a more mindful morning digital strategy. If you're still reading and finding this information valuable, please consider how your own morning digital habits might be affecting your health and well-being. Could a digital sunrise approach benefit you? Now let's move on to our fourth and final morning habit, one that nearly every senior engages in daily without realizing its potential impact on their long-term health and mobility. Habit number 4, skipping morning movement and hydration. James Wilson, 81, had always taken pride in his independence. A widower for 5 years, he managed his own home and enjoyed weekly dinners with his adult children. But gradually, his family noticed concerning changes, increasing stiffness, declining energy, and a growing hesitation to engage in activities he once enjoyed. James's morning routine had been the same for years since retirement. Wake up, use the bathroom, have coffee while doing the crossword puzzle, and eventually shower and dress, often not moving much until mid-morning. What James didn't realize was that this sedentary start to his day was accelerating his physical decline and setting him up for increased health risks. This pattern is extremely common among seniors. After age 70, many adults unknowingly fall into a habit of minimal morning movement, often spending the first 1-2 hours of their day with very little physical activity. This habit, while seemingly innocuous, can have profound effects on health, mobility, and longevity. Here's why morning movement matters so much after 70. During sleep, your body undergoes various physiological changes. Fluids can pool in joints and tissues. Muscle temperature drops, and synovial fluid, the lubricant in your joints, becomes more viscous. For younger adults, these changes reverse quickly once they begin moving. But for seniors, this process is significantly slower and less complete without intentional movement. When you spend the first hour or two of your day with minimal movement, you essentially extend this stiff, inflexible state. Joints remain unlubricated, muscles stay cool and tight, and circulation remains sluggish, particularly in the extremities. Over time, this pattern accelerates age-related stiffness and can contribute to permanent mobility loss. Dr. Robert Chen, a physical medicine specialist at Mayo Clinic, explains, many seniors don't realize they're essentially training their bodies for immobility by how they start their day. The first hour after waking represents a critical opportunity to set the metabolic and circulatory tone for the next 24 hours. Unfortunately, most people over 70 miss this opportunity entirely. The impact of this missed opportunity extends far beyond just feeling stiff. Research shows that seniors who engage in even 5-10 minutes of gentle movement within 30 minutes of waking experience measurable improvements in blood glucose regulation throughout the entire day, cardiovascular response to stress, cognitive function and alertness, balance and coordination, resulting in fewer falls, joint pain and inflammation levels. Perhaps most concerning is the connection between morning immobility and accelerated muscle loss. After 70, the body becomes particularly vulnerable to a condition called sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength. Studies show that seniors lose approximately 3 to 5% of muscle mass each decade after 60 if they don't actively work to maintain it. This loss accelerates dramatically with sedentary behavior. Morning movement serves as a powerful signal to your body to preserve muscle tissue. When you move shortly after waking, you activate metabolic pathways that both protect existing muscle and signal your body to build new tissue. Without this signal, your body more readily breaks down muscle for energy, accelerating the sarcopenia process. Equally important is morning hydration, which works hand in hand with movement to support health. During sleep, you lose significant fluid through respiration and perspiration, often up to a pound of water weight. By morning, most seniors wake up in a state of mild dehydration, which thickens blood, increases heart strain, and compromises cognitive function. James eventually learned about these connections after a minor fall prompted his doctor to recommend physical therapy. His therapist explained how his morning routine was contributing to his declining mobility and suggested simple changes. I was skeptical at first, James admits. The idea that how I start my morning could make such a difference seemed far-fetched. But after just 2 weeks of changing my routine, I noticed I was moving more easily throughout the entire day. Now I actually look forward to my morning movement routine. So what's the solution? You don't need an intensive workout program, just a thoughtful approach to how you begin your day. The 10-10-10 morning vitality method. 10 minutes of gentle movement. Within 15 minutes of waking, engage in very gentle movement that gradually warms your muscles and lubricates your joints. This could be simple stretches while still in bed, gentle range of motion exercises while seated on the edge of your bed, or slow walking around your bedroom. The key is to move every major joint through its comfortable range of motion. To 10 ounces of water before consuming anything else, including coffee or tea. Drink at least 10 ounces of room temperature water. This rehydrates your system after the overnight fast, helps flush toxins, reduces morning brain fog, and prepares your digestive system for breakfast and medications. 10 deep breaths. Either during or after your gentle movement, take 10 deep intentional breaths. This oxygenates your blood, activates your parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress, and helps center your mind for the day ahead. These simple steps, performed consistently each morning, can dramatically improve how you feel throughout the day and slow the progression of age-related mobility issues. Many seniors report feeling decades younger After implementing this routine for just a few weeks, for James, the change was transformative. He started with just 5 minutes of gentle stretching and gradually built up to a 15-minute routine that included basic balance exercises. Combined with proper hydration, these simple changes helped him regain confidence in his movement and reduced his morning stiffness significantly. My grandkids have noticed the difference, James says proudly. Last weekend, I got down on the floor to play with them and was able to get back up without help for the first time in years. That alone was worth changing my routine for. If you're still reading and finding this information valuable, please consider how you might incorporate these simple movement and hydration practices into your own morning routine. The benefits extend far beyond just feeling better in the moment. They can help preserve your independence and quality of life for years to come. Conclusion: small changes, profound impact. We've explored 4 common morning habits that could be silently damaging your health after age 70. 1. Rushing out of bed too quickly. 2. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach. 3. Checking news and social media first thing. 4. Skipping morning movement and hydration. Each of these habits might seem minor in isolation, but together they create a morning routine that puts unnecessary stress on your body's most vulnerable systems, particularly during the critical transition from sleep to wakefulness. Remember Martha's neighbor Richard from the beginning of our discussion? While we'll never know exactly what contributed to his sudden stroke, research suggests that morning routines play a significant role in triggering cardiovascular events. The sudden blood pressure changes, stress hormone surges, and physiological demands of poorly structured morning habits create a perfect storm of risk for seniors. The good news is that these risks aren't inevitable. By making thoughtful adjustments to how you begin your day, you can significantly improve your odds of maintaining good health and independence as you age. The key is mindfulness, becoming aware of how your current habits might be affecting your health and making intentional choices to support your well-being. With this awareness comes the power to transform your mornings from a potential health risk into a foundation for vitality and independence. If you found this information valuable, please consider sharing it with friends or family members who might benefit. Knowledge is most powerful when shared, and these simple insights could potentially add years of healthy, independent living to someone's life. Thank you for taking the time to explore these important health considerations. Here's to healthier mornings and many more years of vitality and independence.